Hi, my name is Brodhan Mujumdar. In this tutorial, I am going to explain the functionality of loop. Remember, there are three types of loop. One is for loop, two while loop, three do while loop. Here I am going to explain the functionality of for loop. Just look at the syntax of for loop. The first part is initialization, second part is condition, and third part is increment or decrement. Here you can see an example of for loop for where I equals to 0, I less than 5. So I equals to 0 is the initialization part where a developer can initialize a variable or identifier. I less than 5 is the condition, and I plus plus, it is you all know that plus plus is an increment operator and minus minus is the decrement operator. So I plus plus means I is incremented by 1. That means the variable or the identifier is incremented by 1. If a developer uses I minus minus, that means the variable identifier is decremented by 1. Suppose the developer uses I equals to I plus 5. This is also incrementation process. The shortcut form of this I plus equals to 5. So these two are similar. These two are similar. I equals to I plus 5 and I plus equals to 5. These two are similar. I plus 5 is the equals to 5 is the shortcut form. So if a developer wants to increment the variable or identifier by 5, then the developer can use I plus equals to 5 in for loop. I think you have understood. Okay. So the basic syntax of for loop is initialization, condition, increment or decrement. Later I will explain the functionality of for loop deeply. Okay, now I am going to explain the functionality of for loop using an example. First, I am going to the folder, JavaScript folder, writing cmd code dot to open Visual Studio Code Editor. Okay, you can see the program, that means the first program or program 1. Now I am creating a separate page for loop, second HTML. I am copying entirely and pasting here. Okay, I am using function first. Here I am using second and second. Here I am saving this web page using Ctrl S. You can see second is the function call and second is the function definition. At present the function definition is blank. And now I am moving to PPT. You can see this is program 2 and the output of this program 2 is 1 to 5. 1 new line, 2 new line, 3 and so on. So how can you solve this using for loop? If you know the exact procedure to solve the problem or fetch the output using for loop, then it is okay. If you do not know, please watch till the end of this tutorial. Okay, I am writing the definition part of second function for. Here I am using var I equals to 1, I equals to 1. Here you can see in PPT the first value is 1. That is the reason I have to start from 1. That means initialization value of I is 1. I less than equals to 5. Why I less than equals to 5? You can see the end value or the last value is 5. That is the reason I write such type of condition. I less than equals to 5. I plus plus. Why I plus plus? Here you can see in PPT the difference between 2 and 1 is 1. The previous value is 1 and the second value is 2. So 1 is incremented by 1 and you will get this value. That is the reason I have used I plus plus. This is the short form of incremented by 1. If a variable incremented by 1, then you can use I plus plus, or you can use I plus 1. So it's better we will use shortcut form I plus plus. Now I am using curly braces, and in my previous tutorial I also explained to show the output we can use alert box, but alert box which show the pop-up message, but here I will use a different technique, that is document.write. Remember document.write, write is a inbuilt function of JavaScript. So write is a JavaScript function which write the output in document. Here I am writing I. Now document.write, here you can see there is a gap between 1 and 2. That is the reason I am using BR. We all know that BR is used for a line break in HTML. I am saving it, refreshing the web page, click on it, you will get the output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this is the basic functionality of for loop. I have already explained the functionality of for loop. Now I will explain different types of functionality of for loop. For this I am going to PPT. Here you can see the initialized value is 3, next value is 6, 9, 12 and 15. So the difference between two numbers is 3, and you can see this is an AP or arithmetic progression. How can you get this output using for loop? Here you can see the syntax of for loop. First part is initialization, second part is condition, and third part is increment or decrement. Here in PPT you can see the difference between two numbers is 3. So a developer can write I equals to I plus 3, or in shortcut form I plus equals to 3. Okay. Now you can see this is initialization part. So a developer can use I equals to 3. If I save it and refresh the web page, click on the button. Okay, I think there is a problem. Okay, here I did a mistake. You can see the condition is I less than equals to 5. So after first iteration it will show 3, and second iteration the value of I will be 6, which is greater than 5. That is the reason it is showing single value as output. Now I am writing here I less than equals to 15. Saving it, refresh the web page, click on the button, you will get the output 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Now look at this section. If a developer wants to omit the initialization part of a for loop, then he or she can write just like this. Here you can see the initialization part is blank, but in for loop you have to write initialization part. How can you write? So before for loop, a developer should write initialization part. So developer can omit initialization part from for loop and declare or define initialization part before for loop. And in this case, it will give same output. Okay, I'm refreshing it, click on the button, you will get the same output. So by this way, without writing the initialization part in a for loop, a developer can write in this way. By the same way, a developer can omit increment or decrement part. So how can you write increment or decrement part for a for loop? Remember, for loop is a block. Here it starts from line number 17 and ends at line number 21. So within this line, you have to write increment or decrement part. Here the increment is, here the statement is I equals to I plus 5, or in short form I plus equals to 5. Here you can see line block starts at line number 70 and ends at line number 21. So at line number 20, I have written this statement. So by this way, okay, at first I'm showing you the output and saving it and refreshing the web page, you will get same output. Okay, that means it is perfect. I think you have understood the functionality of for loop. If you have any question regarding this issue, regarding the for loop, then please comment me and I will try my level best to solve your problems. Okay, now the last and essential part of for loop is infinite loop. Remember, here you can see, okay, in PPT you can see this is the basic syntax of for loop. Okay, this is the initialization part, condition, and increment or decrement part. Here you can see I have written initialization part before for loop, before starting of the for loop. So that is the reason I have omitted initialization part from here. Here you can see I have omitted increment or decrement part from here, and I have written increment decrement part within block of this for loop. Okay. Here I have written only the condition. If you omit this condition, then what will happen? Do you know what is the meaning of this? Pause this video or pause this tutorial and try to find out the answer. There is no condition in this for loop. That is the reason it is called infinite loop. The entire program or the entire function will run for infinite time. So the function will not end. That is the reason this type of for loop is called infinite loop. So I have discussed each and every part of for loop. In next tutorial, I will explain while loop and do while loop. Few minutes before, I explained the functionality of for loop. Now I am going to explain the functionality of remaining two other loops. These are while loop and do while loop. So here you can see in for loop, I have written initialization part before for loop, before starting of the for loop, and I have written the increment decrement part within for loop. That's means within block of a for loop. Okay, the functionality of while loop or the writing pattern of while loop is similar to for loop, but it will not take 3 arguments. It will take 1 argument. That argument is condition. So the syntax of while loop is condition. Okay. Suppose I want to show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as output. Then how can I show? I am changing the initialization part. Here you can see initial part I1 and I am changing the increment decremental part. I am incrementing the value of I by 1. Okay. Now it's time to write condition. Here I am using I not equals to 6. That means the entire code will run until the value reaches to 6. Understood? So if the value of I reaches to 6, then if the value of I reaches to 6, then it will stop to work. What does it mean? If the value of I reaches to 6, then the statements within this while loop will not be executed. Okay. So in that case, the control will be shifted to the next statement outside of this while loop. Here you can see this block contains from line number 16 to line number 21. So if the value of I reaches to 6, then the control will be shifted to line number 22. That means the execution of function completed. Okay. So what will be the output in this section? At first I equals to 1, 1 not equals to 6. Yeah, it is true. It will show the value. Again I plus plus 2, 2 not equals to 6. Yeah, it is 2. By the same way, it will rotate, and 5 not equals to 6. It will show the output 5. And 6 not equals to 6. It is false. It is not true. Then the control will be shifted to line number 22. During this execution of this while loop, it will show 1 to 5 as output. I think you have understood. Now I am saving this, run this and click the button. You can see 1 to 5 as output. I think you have understood. Now the next loop is do while loop. The syntax of do while loop is as similar as the syntax of while loop, with minimum difference. In case of do while loop, a developer should write do at the beginning and while at last, after end of the curly braces and with a semicolon at last. It will give same output. So you can see the functionality of while loop is as similar as the functionality of do while loop. Now, what is the difference between while loop and do while loop, and why these two loops are essential in JavaScript programming? Let us try to explain this using an example. At first, I am changing the initialization part and setting 0 for I variable or identifier. And I am changing the condition also. Here I am using I greater than 0. I am replacing increment operator by decrement operator. Now I am saving it and refreshing the web page. Click the button. You can see nothing is showing. That means the result is null or undefined. Why? Okay. Here you can see the value of variable I is 0. While I greater than 0, is it satisfied? No, it is not satisfied. That means the condition value is false. If the condition value is false, then these statements will not be executed. What is the meaning of this? The control will be shifted to line number 22. That is the reason the output is not showing anything. Okay, now I am replacing while loop by do while loop. I greater than 0. Okay, now if I save this and refresh the web page and click the button, you can see a output here that is 0. Why? Because in while loop it was checked before entering into the loop, but in do while loop at least one time it can be executed. After that it is checked whether the condition is satisfied or not. So in while loop at first the condition is checked, but in do while loop a statement within this loop will be executed after that condition is checked. So that is the difference between while loop and do while loop, and that is the reason while loop is showing null or undefined value and do while loop is showing 0 as output. At least one time the statement will be executed for do while loop. I think you have understood the functionality and difference between while loop and do while loop.